Should someone own a small interest in your business? Hi, I'm Josh Horn with Horn Valuation. I help business owners and attorneys with business valuation and building business value. So it's tax time, and it makes me think of the old days when I used to prepare tax returns, and sometimes we'd have these layered family interests in business. A lot of times these would be family members that own small percentages in businesses. And let me start out by saying that this can be an excellent estate and wealth planning tool to get the interest in the business to the next generation. However, I want to step back for a minute and ask you to think of some of the things, unfortunately, that I see that can blow this up and cause you to maybe think, well, maybe you need to change this or at least consider it. And I encourage you to think about this at least annually because families change, ownership changes. So consider first administrative costs and liquidity, or it's just a fancy way of saying cash available. You may need tax returns, you may need business valuations, you may need to pay attorneys. As this is done, the administrative costs add up and add up and add up. It may make sense, it may not. In some cases, the liquidity is also an issue. In some cases, some of these businesses are very asset rich and cash poor, unfortunately. So does that interest have the ability to pay for the costs? Are they liquid enough to do it? A lot of times there can be ways to get cash to them, but in some cases it may not be the most efficient way to handle it. So does it really make sense, or do the administrative costs and the liquidity burdens outweigh it? Second, think about the owners you might end up with that you may not want. And this is tricky. Are your agreements structured so that if that small ownership interest dies or something happens where they can't run it anymore or effectively be involved in the business, typically we're talking about death here, are you going to end up with a partner you may not want? Maybe a minor child, maybe a spouse, maybe another sibling that you don't get along with, whatever that is. Be careful that your agreements do what you want them to do. Unfortunately, I had a real life situation like this the other day. I met with a prospective client, and the child predeceased the older father or mother, we'll say here. So the child was younger. He was not supposed to die given his age before the parent, but he did. And so in this case, we have liquidity issues. We have cost concerns. In this case, probably the way the agreement is structured, they're probably going to have a right of first refusal so that the company can buy back his interest. But sometimes these agreements aren't written very well. So be careful with this. People don't always die in the order of age. I'm in farming country. There are a lot of accidents that happen here. Sometimes people have untimely deaths. Sometimes if you're in the trades, in the contracting field, people have accidents on the job. These are difficult things to think about and talk about, but sometimes people don't go the way we think they will go. And so you have partners that maybe you wouldn't otherwise want. So in closing, what I would encourage you to do is think about the broad perspective, what you want to accomplish for this business. And one of the things I see as a potential tail that wags the dog sometimes is people go, well, I want to make it fair. I want to make it fair. And I get that concept on some level. But fair to who or whom, and is that ultimately not fair to the business and considering what is needed to run this business? In the interest of spreading it around to those that may or may not want to be actively involved and may not necessarily have something to add, is that really something you want to do? Maybe it is. Maybe these small interests are on site every day. They're learning the business. They're understanding it. They are actively involved. But don't just spread it around just to spread it around, okay? Because you can definitely see liquidity issues, cost issues, ending up with partners that maybe you don't want, and these things can totally blow your plan. I'm Josh Horn with Horn Valuation. Have a great day.